Hey everyone, welcome back to Today in Tech. I'm Julia Beauchamp and I'm here with Computer World Executive Editor Ken Mingus, as well as Macworld Executive Editor Michael Simon. We are live on LinkedIn as well as on YouTube, so if you have any questions or comments while we are discussing, please do let us know in the comments or the live chat. This is our last live episode of 2021, so thank you all for watching this year. We do have some pre-recorded things that will launch in the coming weeks, but we won't be live. So if you have burning questions that you want answered live, now's the time to ask them, I think. So 2021 was a year where Apple really leveled up on some of its products. I mean, specifically, certainly the Mac line, because you had the M1 chip going to new devices, the introduction of the M1 Pro chip, the M1 Max chip. So 2021, certainly a big year. I feel like, I'm sure, like many companies, Apple is kind of in competition with itself to try and best itself from previous years. But I want to talk about a little bit today, obviously, about what to expect in 2022. So definitely a lot of new things potentially possibly coming. But I guess maybe first, we can do a quick little 2021 recap. So I feel like obviously so much was announced. What were the highlights, I guess, of this year?
Oh man, there's so many of them. I'll just start with my highlight, which is my M1 Max MacBook Pro, which is a phenomenal machine. I got the 16-inch model, and even though it was a little hard to get right at first, wow. Seriously, and this is a surprise for me, I'm good for a while. I mean, like 3 or 4 years now for a laptop. No matter what Apple does in 2022, I call it my tank. It's good. That's my highlight. I'll tell you that. Michael?
Yours? I mean, honestly, that might be the main, if not only. I mean, only is harsh, but that was the big thing that people really took notice. The M1 Pro, M1 Max, the MacBook Pro, that whole thing, that whole event, or rather that part of that event. So, I mean, otherwise, Apple Watch Series 7, iPhone, listen, caveat, they're all great products. But as far as like blow away, revolutionary, gotta have it stuff, not much. 24-inch iMac, okay. It's a redesign. It didn't go as far as many people, including myself, would have liked as far as the design goes. There's still a chin. The colors are, okay. The back is nicer than the front. The white bezels are polarizing.
That too. Why did they save the beautiful color for the back?
Right, I don't know. Whenever I see them in a store, it's like you look at the back. It's that bright, vibrant color, and you turn around, it's like muted pastel. I mean, maybe they did A/B testing and realized that like looking at that color all day isn't great. I don't know. Yeah. But there's still a chin, but there's no Apple logo. So they did. I don't think that. I mean, it's new and it's thin and it's nice, but I think they could have done a little more there. AirTag is, they're cool. Nothing outrageously interesting. The ultra wideband stuff is good, but we knew that was coming. AirPod Gen 3 was rumored for about 1.5 years. We got them and they're great, but again, not a blow away thing. I don't know. iPad Mini was cool. That's probably my personal favorite because I don't have a MacBook Pro. The new iPad Mini, it's a little bit pricier than I would have liked. I was hoping more $449 range, $500, $499. It's a little steep, but it's a really nice redesign and really gives the Mini like its due, so to speak. Like it was always something about the Mini that was like gave me pause with each generation, and this one, with the exception of just a slightly higher price tag than I think it should have. It's great, processor, screen, design, portability, all that. So that's probably my number one product of 2021 would be the iPad Mini.
So you're saying the polishing cloth was not the top product from Apple this year?
Polishing cloth is up there, maybe number 3.
You know what? You can't find them. We were talking about it earlier, and they're you have to wait until February if you're ordering now. So somebody must like that damn thing.
Artificial appeal.
I wouldn't trade it for my MacBook Pro though. You're right.
So if that was your highlight of 2021, I don't know if I can think of a highlight necessarily. The big thing that happened to me is that my iPhone suddenly stopped working. So I got a 12, not even a 13, but I did get the purple one. So
listen, the
that's a
iPhone
fun
12
announcement.
that actually came out this year too, the purple version.
Yes,
the iPhone
the purple one
13, it's a great phone, the best phone. It's great, but we're so like, I mean, you can say we've been spoiled, and we absolutely have. By every single year, a new great phone comes out in September or October, but the iPhone 13 is really just a slightly better iPhone 12. The battery is the biggest thing. It has a vastly improved battery life. Camera's a little better. The ProMotion screen on the Pros is nice. All good stuff. Nothing that made 2021, or at least the iPhone in 2021, like, all right, gotta go out and get this. 2020 was with 5G and the new design.
Sure.
So maybe we're looking at 2022.
I think 22 is
Yeah.
going to be the big year. Isn't it the expectation that?
Isn't it always the expectation? It's always next year.
Well, no,
right?
I wasn't expecting a major redesign this year, or the
we're just talking about the iPhone.
loss of the notch, and maybe a periscope camera. There's a lot of things that Apple could do in 22 with the iPhone.
Yeah. There's a bunch of rumors out there, like you said, the loss of the notch. I'm not sold on that rumor, because first of all, they're saying it's just the Pro models, and it would still have a hole punch, but where does Face ID go? And I have a lot of questions there. We haven't seen any renders. We haven't seen any leaked CAD schematics or anything like that. And we've heard this rumor before. We've heard the hole punch. We've heard the Touch ID in the screen room. Like that's been circulated before. So until I see it, so to speak, I'm not going to believe it. But the camera, the periscope telephoto lens looks like something of a slam dunk. If you want to count on a feature happening in 2022, that we'll finally get like really good telephoto.
Really want that
on the iPhone, and it follows the cadence. This year brought macro, which is probably the unsung best feature of the iPhone 13 Pro. It's amazing. Year before we got what did we? I just went blank. What did the iPhone 12 bring in with 5G? The camera? Oh, well, no, I'm talking about the camera, and I just I had it in my head and I completely went blank. But each year brings a new, like a new standout feature. We had night mode, of course, with the iPhone 11. So Zoom, which Apple has basically ignored forever. I mean, we get 5x digital zoom, which is garbage. If you've ever tried to use it, it's so bad.
It is.
Yeah,
yes.
It's really bad. So Apple, I mean, they said in a relatively recent interview that they're like 3 years ahead with like shoring up these like, major features of the iPhone. So they're working on presumably the iPhone 16 now. So it would make sense that, each year gets a real focus on that, on a specific part of the camera. And next year would be telephoto.
I hope so. I do think that's coming. And again, looking at 2022, obviously the phone is so important to Apple. It wants to make a splash if it can. I'm assuming that
they're going to sell a couple 100 million of it anyway.
Yeah.
Like it's a funny thing. Like there's always those reports like you can't find the iPhone and then nobody wants the iPhone. It's like, just they're fine. Like
I never understood that. I've seen those conflicting reports going around that people aren't buying the iPhone and yet it's supply constrained for weeks and weeks.
Like, I don't know if it's conflicting reports as much as people want to squeeze out a headline, usually negative, because that's what gets clicks.
Yeah.
There's these leaks and things. And I do believe that Apple does reevaluate its orders on a regular basis. And they probably do cut 10, 15, 20% month to month because they look at what's selling and the models. But to report on the supply chain as an indication that nobody wants the iPhone anymore is nuts. It's crazy.
I was going to say, I hope the supply chain problems do clear up.
I would assume midway through 2022. There are signs that they're kind of easing now, not with everything. In fact, you can look at the iPad. You can't buy an iPad mini. You can't buy an iPad Air right now. And they're saying that's because of the display controller part that is just impossible to get. And Apple prioritized other things and said, you know what, we're just going to take that on the chin because we want to push out iPhones, basically. So it's still an issue. It's something of a lesser issue than it was 2 months ago, and maybe it was a little overblown. Then I don't know. That's not my expertise, but I would guess by summer of next year, all of this stuff will be, fixed, so to speak, barring another Suez Canal disaster.
God, yeah. The thing that I'm really hoping for in 22 are the Apple glasses. Glass, and we were talking briefly beforehand. It does seem like there's a lot of speculation and rumor that that's actually going to happen in the year.
Yeah, this
that
year.
Seems it's like
I'm sorry. This week, Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, who's well connected and very accurate, as well as TFT Securities Ming-Chi Kuo, who is also extremely well connected. Yeah. Both of them came out with back-to-back reports saying, here's a bunch of stuff that Apple's releasing in 2022. Among them, this thing, which is, I don't think it's going to be glasses, Ken. I hate to get you. I hate to dash your hopes. The rumors say it's going to be. It's like a headset, almost like the Oculus style thing.
Interesting.
I don't think.
But AR?
It might. Yeah. Well, AR VR. I don't think it's going to be. Like as bulbous as some of those like VR gaming systems are. But I do think it's going to look pretty silly if you're walking around in public wearing it.
Running around with these
things.
Like,
all right, have you seen the HoloLens? You probably have. You're in that world. I think it's going to be more like that.
Okay.
Also, might be priced as much as that too. They're saying it could be a few $1,000.
Extremely expensive.
Yeah. It's based on my understanding. This is not going to be a consumer device. This is not a holiday wish list item. This is basically a proof of
wish list can be awfully broad.
Well, you can afford one. We can't.
See, who knows how much they're going to cost?
But it's saying that, like, the way I see it, it's kind of like a proof of concept almost, where so Tim Cook has been talking about VR. Tim Cook has been talking about AR for a long time. It's clearly one of his tentpole things that he wants to do before he, retires. And I think in order to do that, Apple needs to get something substantial, tangible, into the hands of the developers and whoever in the public kind of can buy one and wants one. They need to see what the use case is. If you remember the first Apple Watch, it's very different. It looks similar, Generation 0 as it was, versus Series 7. You put them side by side, it's the Series 7 has a bigger screen. It's a little sleeker, a little bit thinner. They look very similar, but they do completely different things. And Apple needed to kind of learn as the watch evolved in public what people needed to do it for, and what people needed it for.
They used it, exactly.
That is, like, to me, I think honestly talking about any sort of a wearable in general is who's using this and for what. So
and I don't think that Apple can invest. Point. I mean, they would have to invest ridiculous amounts of money and time into building an AR device that looks like a pair of glasses and works like a pair of glasses. And then if they get it wrong, the function wrong, then they're basically going back to the drawing board. Plus, we're talking about 5 years down the line. So I think the first device is going to look, somewhat laughable, in the sense that if you see someone walking around with it, you can just like, what on earth are you wearing? And like Apple has to go through that awkward phase with this in order to turn it into an AirPods or an Apple Watch type wearable.
Because obviously, like, some sort of headset definitely calls to mind a Google Glass situation.
Yeah, there's that. I think it's going to be way more powerful than that, but yeah.
So I would be intrigued to see. But I guess that's kind of the point. I guess the point is, I suppose it's the theme of the whole episode, which is this is what could happen. Got to see what it's going to be used for. And
Yeah, I mean, Google Glass it's an apt comparison, but it's somewhat of an unfair one because Google doesn't have a clue what it's doing when it comes to hardware. It never has. And I include the Pixel in that. They make great services and Google does great things with AI stuff and things like that. Hardware has always been its shortcoming, always. And Google Glass you can say was ahead of its time, maybe, but more importantly, the wrong company was doing it. Like, I don't think Google knew what to do with it. It was actually pretty slick the way it looked for the time, but it had a camera and it didn't know what to do with it. Apple, I'm certain, as it's proven, they're a hardware software integration company, and if they do release a pair of glasses, privacy will be an issue, and functionality and apps and whatever else they need to do. All that's going to be thought out and also evolve. So the headset is super exciting. Owning one is not yet, I don't think.
No, I really do want to see, and you're absolutely right. We were again talking earlier about this. As much as I like Apple products and rush to like whatever's new, I really would need to see what the use case would be for something like that, especially if it's Gen 1, and especially if it, I need to know I'm going to use it in some way other than just walking around with something that's kind of cool. So we'll see. But
I don't even know. I mean, they might not. They might not even sell it. Like, it might be a developer thing. Who knows?
Yeah.
The way that people are talking, like $2,500 to $3,500. I mean,
that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and it's not because Apple's trying to get like it's a different, like, the iPhone was $1,200 or $600 and then subsidized when it first came out, and people laughed, and that was the Apple tax and all that. Sure, that's not what this would be. This would be a device that really costs that much to make because there's a lot going on. They're talking about a pair of 8K displays and an M1 chip, VR, AR, seamless integration and switching back and forth, a battery, really high tech, cutting edge stuff, not just a pretty piece of glass that can run a full website. Like, if the rumors are true, and a lot of the corroboration here leads me to believe that this device does exist. Whether or not we see it next year, I don't know. But if all this comes to fruition with the sensors and the cameras and the things that it needs to do, it would be a really kind of a first of its kind device that can do this stuff live. So,
sure.
It's a ridiculous amount of money, but that's not the people who would say that are not the people that Apple is targeting right now.
I'm a little bit curious who is the target for this, but
well, it's Ken, clearly.
No. I think you make a good point, though. I mean, they have to get something out there so that developers can get their hands on it. They may not actually know exactly what the best use case is for the device,
right.
Gotcha.
Whatever it is, until they get out there and again see what developers can do with it. I mean, I can see a lot of energy and development around accessibility. Making adding accessibility for people who may be challenged in some ways.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or whatever. And it may turn into something like that. It may not be a mainstream consumer device for a long time to come.
Yep. Gurman says three areas of focus: games is one, media consumption is another, and like social communication is the third, with like a VR type FaceTime being the main thing there. All does make sense. I don't see a killer feature in that, in the sense that Apple Watch became a fitness device.
Yeah.
Fitness was not its main focus when Apple started. It was there, of course, it did the stuff. The main focus was, remember, if the side button went to like glances, and then you press the button and it goes to like all your people and stuff. Like it really evolved, and I'm quite certain that whatever this headset is, the first iteration of it, the things that it does will end up being secondary to whatever it's going to do.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, getting back to more mainstream, though, I mean, there obviously are things on Apple's drawing board that we're expecting. Like, I've seen speculation recently about a redesigned 13-inch MacBook Pro, which I just assumed was going to go away.
Yeah, you and
like
me
maybe
both.
Not.
But Gurman also, he was the one who came out with the big report this week. That's why I keep using him. He says that Apple's working on a new one.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess when you consider the 14-inch Pro starts at $2,000 and the Air starts at $999, there has to be something in the middle there. So that would make sense. I guess it probably wouldn't have as many ports. It probably has an M2 processor versus the M1 Pro processor. So there will be sacrifices there to get it down to $1,300. But it's a good option for people that need it. I mean, Apple needs to put some more space between it and the Air. Right now, the 13-inch Pro is basically an iPad, a MacBook Air with a touchscreen. I think there needs to be more of a compelling reason to upgrade to the Pro with the next version.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see, especially with these. And I do want to talk about, before we're finished, about whatever this next chip will be. But I think that like differentiating the Pro line, especially with the Pro Max chip and the, not Pro Max, the M1 Pro and the M1 Max chips, I think would be interesting. So what is the forecast or the prediction on whatever kind of new chip is going to be in 2022 Max? An M2?
Yeah, probably an M2, assuming Apple continues that nomenclature. Similar to the M1, 8 cores, divided evenly, 4 power, 4 efficiency, a little bit faster. Maybe a secondary Thunderbolt bus so we can get ports on either side. But from what we hear, and GPU probably the same. I think that, I mean, first of all, the M1 is plenty fast for the machines that it's in. So it's like an iPhone cadence. You up that by 15 to 20%, and that's it. Graphics a little bit 30% faster, something like that. I think that's acceptable for a 12 to 15 month cycle. And then the M2 Pro would be probably next year, so the 2024. I don't think they're going to do this like the iPhone every year. I don't think there's going to be a new chip. I think it's going to be more every year and a half. Well, you don't need to for the iPhone either, to be honest, but they do. I mean, the A15 is great. The A14 is great too, But Max, I think we're probably, so the M1 came out in November of 2020.
Yeah.
So now we're 13 months in ish. I think 5 months from now, so 18 months. I think
maybe WWDC we see.
Yeah. 15 to 18 month cycle sounds about right. I just hope that the iPhone is on a predictable schedule. Right. Apple Watch, predictable schedule. The iPad is all over the place. So is the Mac right now. Yeah. And I would like to, I know that affects sales because people say, oh, a new one's coming, so the sales dip. But I think there's a certain level of comfort in that, both for Apple and the consumer. Because so now if you buy an iPad, like the iPad Air right now, it's great. But in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, what if a new one comes out in February? So you still have that hesitation when you buy it. Or at least, inform consumers. And if you don't know, you don't care, you're going to buy it anyway. So I would like to see the Mac return to some kind of a regular cadence with every 18 months, a new M2, M3, M4, whatever.
Okay.
Buy confidently, absolutely.
Yeah. We have a great comment on LinkedIn, just mostly a comment, not a question, but I think that there's some interesting points here. So this commenter said that a MacBook with Face ID doesn't make sense to them because there's no good way of telling users' intention to authenticate a payment compared to iPhone. So talking about, Apple Pay, and to authenticate on a MacBook, Touch ID is easiest. One touch straightforward, more straightforward compared to Face ID, which I feel that. I like the Touch ID on my Mac to be able to sign in, authenticate things, what have you. And then they also said that for 2022, the most anticipated thing for them would be the removal of the Lightning port, which is the main reason why they ditched not upgrading this year.
Wow.
I wonder if
that's quite a reason not to upgrade.
I feel like I kind of interpret that.
What do you hate about the Lightning port?
Yeah, I'm curious. I guess when I first read this, I was thinking, okay, are they saying that they don't want a charging port, period? But that can't possibly be right. So I imagine you're looking for like a USB-C situation. let us know.
I guess that's not happening. I will bet my salary for next year. Actually, I'm not
don't
really
do
gonna
that.
Oh, Michael, please.
I'll bet
He's watching, he'll do it
Ken's
just
salary
like,
for next year.
Teach you a lesson.
I would be absolutely and totally flummoxed, shocked, and floored if Apple put a USB-C port in the iPhone next year.
This is non-binding if it happens.
Well, no, it's Ken's money now.
Oh, okay.
No.
Still non-binding.
I would be shocked if that happened. Shocked. I would be equally shocked if they took away the port completely next year. Maybe they're leading towards that. I don't think that's happening. I mean, it would be such a mess
Yeah, no,
if they took away the port.
It would be a headache.
It really would be.
My phone with CarPlay all the time, and my car does not.
That's
have
one.
wireless
Number
charging.
one is CarPlay.
CarPlay. I mean, it's
Number two is
over
you're
here.
forcing everyone to buy either a MagSafe or a wireless charging adapter, which aren't cheap.
Yeah.
It's there. There's a lot that needs to be worked out before they get to that point. I think Lightning will be on the iPhone 14, and that poor person is going to have to make a decision next year to buy one or not.
Then they'll wait for the year after because it might be.
Well, I think you're going to be waiting a bit of a long time.
You know that this is true. If you need it now, buy it now. If you don't, then wait until you need it.
Well, you don't follow that logic.
No, I'm no. Do as I say, not as I do personally.
Okay, so we've got whatever sort of AR, VR headset, possibly,
Wait. Can I
Yes.
speak real quick to the Face ID thing?
You can, yes, go ahead.
So, I'm all for Face ID on the Mac. I think it's the most logical device to have it because you open up or you sit down on your computer and however you do,
Sure.
and you're looking right at it. So the
Yeah.
authentication is right there. As far as payment goes, why can't? So right now, the way it works on the iPhone, the thing pops up, you double click the power button, and it makes the payment. Why can't the same thing happen on the Mac with the return key or something? Like, I've seen that argument before, and I understand that it would be maybe a little bit clunky, but I still have to reach over to my Mac and touch the Touch ID sensor. So it's not, and I have to touch the button on my iPhone, which, quite frankly, isn't very pleasant sometimes. Like I often don't hit it twice, and I cancel the payment. I got to redo it. So there are some ergonomic headaches with Face ID. I don't think that is any worse on the Mac. And I think Face ID would be amazing as far as getting in there quick, open up your Mac, boom, you're in, just like the iPhone. That's just me. I don't think it's coming. I don't think it's coming next year though, because it would have come on the MacBook Pro this year. I think we're looking at 2024 for that. I don't get it. I'll admit I don't understand. There's a freaking notch that could fit Face ID, but
Yeah, that's true.
iFixit did a it's customary teardown, and the Face ID True Depth array is a couple millimeters thicker
Too thick.
than the 16-inch and the 14-inch the depth of this, whatever it is, the screen depth. So that could be it. But it was significant enough that leads me to believe that it's going to take a couple of years to get it down to where it would fit. I still say that the notch is a placeholder for future Face ID.
All right. So we've got, that was good response. We've got headset, like I said, new iPhone, of course, probably new watch, maybe new SE.
Well, don't jump over the new watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. That's I was just going to bring that up. So you're saying the same thing.
New SE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of different models. So the Apple Watch, the 2021 Apple Watch was the biggest that ever happened to the Apple Watch. It's 1 millimeter bigger. Charges very, very slightly faster, and has a couple of new colors, and that's it. It's nice. It's still the best. It's by far the best. And the price is the same. So like all that's good. But if you're comparing it to the Series 6, in fact, I bought a Series 6 for my dad for Christmas that I got for like $150 off because it's the same damn thing. I was going to put it in a Series 7 box and tell them it's the 7. No, it's the same. They're very similar. So unless you really need like a 1 millimeter difference in screen size, they're very similar. And there were a lot of rumors leading up to the Series 7 saying that it was getting a new design, a bigger battery, a different screen lamination to make it thinner. None of that came to pass. So I think that the Series 8 will be pretty big as far as an evolutionary jump. And I also think that we're going to get a new SE. That was actually also in Gurman and Kuo's report this week. But I fully expected that because I think that'll be on a 2-year cadence. So that would mean that the Apple Watch SE would basically be the Series 6 for $280, which is fantastic if that's the case. The Series 6 is basically the watch we have now. Same chip, same sensors, always on display. So what you would be getting would be an always on display, probably EKG, maybe blood oxygen. It's if that's what it is for $280, that's fantastic. I love it. Apple Watch Series 8 may be a new design. There's rumors of possibly a larger model, which Ken would be happy about. Right? Yeah, and then also a rugged option for like, I don't know, extreme sports people. I don't really know what that means. Like, I don't know what rugged means, but that's like everyone keeps using that word. I guess, but what is it like the Series 7 has that ceramic shield thing. So is it more rugged than the rugged that Apple sells now? Like, I don't understand what that means, but allegedly, and this was also rumored for the 7 and it never showed up. The bunch of new things coming in for the Apple Watch. That could be the most exciting, other than the headset, the most exciting product category this year.
Cool. All right. And just because we're running a little bit low on time, I feel like we kind of got to stop there. But if there is anything else, obviously, we will be back in 2022 to talk about it. We have one viewer question that I promised them I would end on, which is a viewer who came over from PC World, actually, saying that this is a long-standing debate. And this is no nuance allowed. This is no nuance allowed. Better movie, Alien, or the sequel, Aliens? No nuance. You just have to answer it.
Is that Brad?
Alien.
Aliens.
Okay, no nuance.
No, Alien.
Nope.
Alien. By the time you got to Aliens, everybody knew what the monster was and what happened and everything. Alien was the big shock.
No nuance allowed. It's reason to tune back in 2022. So thank you both so much for joining us, and thank you all so much for watching this episode of Today in Tech. If you liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you are watching over on LinkedIn, you can head over to our YouTube channel, IDG Tech Talk, and you can subscribe there so you never miss an episode. You can also hit the bell icon so you're notified every time we have a new episode or post a new video. If you have any questions or comments that we didn't get to, please do let us know in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Again, last of 2021, so Happy New Year. Still stay tuned. We got a few pre-recorded things to launch, but otherwise, Happy New Year, happy holidays, wherever you are, whatever you're celebrating, and we'll see you next year.